Greetings from the city of brotherly love. I am Fernando Mendez, host of the Round Table. We invite you to listen to our discussion of the themes of the day when we bring you regional, national, and international news. Señores oyentes de Úsala Radio, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Pastor Phil, dirigiendo este programa. Bueno, noticias como siempre aquí en Úsala desde Filadelfia sobre lo que pasa en Estados Unidos, lo que pasa por el mundo. Sobre todo, bueno, en este momento otra vez ha aumentado, se ha agravado la crisis del virus. La versión Delta, que se descubrió primero creo que fue en India, y que se ha esparcido por todo el mundo. La tenemos aquí. Es la más fuerte, es un contagio más serio, es un contagio más fácil de adquirir. Así que hay que tener cuidado con esta versión del virus que se llama Delta y que ha causado estragos a muchos hospitales, desde la Florida hasta Texas, que están luchando en este momento porque hay un aumento de pacientes inesperado, algo que no había ocurrido desde hace meses, desde el comienzo de la crisis. Entonces, bueno, ahí estamos. Y lo peor de todo es que hay un par de gobernadores, Ron DeSantis en Florida y Abbott en Texas, que no actúan con sentido común y están atacando a las gentes, los doctores, los científicos que saben y entienden el asunto del COVID, y ellos están actuando por motivos políticos. Los dos son trumpistas, así que era de esperar que iban a actuar de un modo ilógico, pero bueno, están causando mucho daño porque sus acciones están causando más enfermos y enfermos más jóvenes en este momento. Hay jóvenes que han sido seriamente afectados por el COVID. Esto es lo que está pasando en este momento a través del país. So, the roundtable today, the main topic is going to be about the census. The census of 2020. If you think that's sort of a delayed reaction, perhaps it is, but it is not unusual that the results of a census that is carried out every 10 years will take some time to compile, to study, to list, and then to publish and to send to the individuals responsible for using those numbers, which are very important. As we know, they have political implications in terms of the population distribution, in terms of how the federal government is going to allot federal funds to the cities, to the counties, to the states, according to the population. It has political implications in terms of how many representatives will each state have, and how each representative is a person who represents the best interest of the segment of the population in his or her district. Hay que decir eso, ¿no? Su distrito, el distrito suyo de él o de ella. Porque bueno, en español no tenemos ese mismo problema, es un poquito más ambiguo. Decir su distrito en inglés sería his or hers. Bueno, eso es la lección lingüística del día de hoy. But anyway, so going back to the topic of COVID, more young children now have ended up in hospitals. And it's a crisis in Florida, needless to say, because of the actions of this ridiculous man, Ron DeSantis, who keeps campaigning against masks and has threatened to remove the school boards, to remove the pay of school board members and the school board directors. So that's it could be an empty threat, because I think legally he may not be able to do that. But nevertheless, they're using all the political tools they can to stop something that they should be supporting, the health of the citizens. So ridiculous people. It's DeSantis and Abbott in Texas. So that's not what's happening to us. We have a good governor, in spite of some, he's not perfect. Nobody's going to say any human being is perfect, but he's done a great job in terms of dealing with the crisis of COVID, dealing with sort of a stubborn legislature in Harrisburg that opposes his orders because they are Republicans and he is a Democrat. As though COVID will recognize politics or gender. COVID affects everybody. So it's absurd not to deal with it as a unified force. Democrats, Republicans, men, women, regardless of race. It's anyway. So we'll talk a little bit about all this, because we have some very clear results of the 2020 census. Among other things, Philadelphia will announce that healthcare and higher ed workers, students also, must get vaccinated by October 15th, I think, is the deadline. They have until October 15th to get the COVID vaccine, or to be designated exempt, exceptions for religion or for health reasons. So, yeah, yesterday during the show that I did with Leslie Acosta, it wasn't yesterday, but it was a couple of days ago, I tried to get her to say something, give me an answer to this. What kind of religion will tell you? Maybe Pastor Phil, being that he's a religious person, will answer this. What kind of religion would tell you that there is a salvation, there's a vaccine that will protect you and your children and your neighbors and your compatriots, that will save the population from a deadly disease? What kind of religion tells you that you should not get vaccinated? So maybe Pastor Phil would want to intervene in this, but I know he's hesitant. But this is actually his field of expertise, religion. So, and I know he's listening to me, but he's, I don't know, he's not willing to participate in my my discussions. Hello, Phil. Anyway, Philadelphia will announce these vaccination requirements by October 15th. Employees of Philadelphia's higher education and healthcare systems must be vaccinated by mid-October, 15th of October, or wear 2 masks while indoors, practice social distancing, and get COVID tested once a week. City officials will announce that today, Friday. And by the way, happy Friday the 13th. Those of you who are sort of believe in all this hocus pocus, Friday the 13th, you know, black cats and do not walk on the ladders and what else? All this fear of Friday the 13th. I mean, they have made movies about that. Silly movies, to be sure. I don't think I've seen any of them. I just know they exist. Under the new mandate, all students and employees must be vaccinated by October 15. They have religious or medical exemptions, said Dr. Marla J. Gold, Vice Provost of Community Healthcare Innovation at Drexel University and a member of the city's Board of Health. So fortunately for us in Philadelphia, we have smart people in charge of our healthcare. And some of those decisions make tremendous sense. So here we are. I've been saying for a while now, even to a lot of my friends, that eventually, everywhere, all means of transportation, airlines, trains, buses, we know Uber and Lyft require masks. It will happen all around the country. Masks will be mandated. Vaccination will be a requirement for you to travel in so many ways. If you're going to fly, especially if you're going to fly outside the country, if you're going to fly to Europe or Latin America, anywhere, you're going to fly out of the United States, you may be required to show proof of vaccination or proof of the fact that you are exempt for religious or health reasons. And so that's going to happen. And those who say that it contravenes their civil rights, that it goes against their privacy, the right to decide what to do with their bodies, etc. Well, even the Bible says you should not kill yourself. And so that's what you're doing if you're not vaccinated. Unless really, like some people who are in tremendous health, danger to their health with the vaccine, they are exempt. But the rest of us, we should all be vaccinated. It's also a matter of civic responsibility. If I'm vaccinated, I'm not a danger to my community. I'm not a danger to my family. I can go see my relatives who are, as far as I know, most of them vaccinated. So in fact, there's a new baby in the family and we're all vaccinated. Extra vaccine required because there's something, tetanus vaccine, I think is believed. That's what it's called. And we all have to have it in order to be able to hold the baby. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. A lot of people are afraid of needles, but people who are not afraid of needles should have a vaccine. Anyway, we're going to take a brief pause here en Usa la Radio. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Pastor Phil at the controls. Regresamos en un momento.
Había un niño que era muy sensible a luces y sonidos. Construía escondites donde no podían entrar. No le gustaba mirar a la gente a los ojos. Lo hacía sentir incómodo. Un día se descubrió que tenía autismo. Con ayuda, poco a poco, aprendió a vivir mejor con ello.
Mientras más pronto se diagnostique, mejor. Conoce las señales en autismspeaks.org.
Señores oyentes de Usa la Radio, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Round Table desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Pastor Phil at the controls, and we have, we see City and State, from City and State News. The Serve America Movement, or SAM Party, is a new third party in Pennsylvania looking to court voters interested in putting good government before ideology. Wow. Well, third party. One of my eternal pet peeves in Philadelphia is the fact that the Democratic Party has been in charge for forever. It seems to me, since 1953. Imagine that, 47 and 20. 68 years in charge of the city. And where is the city right now? We're one of the poorest, if not the poorest, urban center in this country. In one of the richest countries on earth, we live in the poorest area of this country. And the Hispanic population lives in the poorest area of the poorest urban center, as well as the Black population. Brown and Black people adversely affected by the economy in this city, adversely affected by COVID, adversely affected by the loss of jobs, adversely affected by the lack of a good education, poor schools, gentrification, the neglect of politicians, who, in the case of the Hispanic population, they don't even think we deserve attention because we are, at this point, I think 12% of the population. We don't have a great effect on the vote, apparently. And so they don't need to invest in our community. They don't need to spend money buying commercials in our media. So we know that for a fact. They don't bother with Hispanic media. Very few of them at the local level, perhaps. But I doubt national politicians will spend any kind of money. So those are facts. In the meantime, as I said at the beginning, the census, the census of 2020, interesting stuff happening. Philly's population has grown to more than 1.6 million, and the region is getting more diverse. Okay, so we know that, empirical evidence. Just looking around, we can see that we are more diverse. More Hispanics, more Asians, from China, from India, from Vietnam, from that part of the world. And so we're getting more diverse. Interesting fact, the Black population has lost numbers. So we'll talk about that too. Philadelphia's population last topped 1.6 million in the 1980 census. The city's 5.1% increase in population in the 2010 census was the largest since the 1950s. Philadelphia gained roughly 77,800 residents between 2010 and 2020. So in the decade between 2010 and 2020, Philadelphia gained roughly 77,800 people, growing the city's population to more than 1.6 million, according to the first local and demographic results from the 2020 census that were released on Thursday. The city's population last topped 1.6 million in the 1980 census. Philadelphia's 1% increase in the population is the largest in a 10-year population gain since 1950. El censo de 2020 muestra un crecimiento en la población que ha llegado a 1.6 millones. Así que está interesante este número, que estamos ganando en población, pero la población de negros ha bajado, ha sido reducida. Philadelphia keeps its rank as the country's 6th largest city after Phoenix overtook it within the last few years. Yeah, at one point we were competing, if I'm not wrong, with Houston to be 5th. Now we're not even there. Now Phoenix overtook Philadelphia. Interesting. I think it has to do, we have to be sort of clear about this. It's probably something to do with the climate. You know, the South and Southeast, Southwest especially, because of the climate, are more attractive places to live. So that's why New Mexico, Texas, Arizona, they gain in population. I want to see what happened in California, because the speculation was that California was losing population. People were leaving because of the fires and flood and the lack of water and a lot of problems, because California has forever attracted more and more people, especially from the East Coast. The entire Philadelphia region is growing in population and even more so in diversity. The number of people living in the city and the surrounding counties grew by 5%, but the Hispanic population grew by 36% in a decade. The Asian population grew by 39%, and the white population declined by 4%. Okay, so look at that. The browning of this country and the browning of this city and the state. So when you're looking for reasons for the white population so devoted to Donald Trump, okay, the premise is not all white people are prejudiced. Not all white people follow Trump. But one of the reasons so many white people support Donald Trump is because he represents MAGA, you know, make our country, you know, make America great again, meaning get rid of all these colored people. So if Hispanic population grew by 36% and the Asian population by 39%, and the white population declined by 4%, and that happened in many states, it would explain why in many places in Pennsylvania, white people are concerned that they are losing their grip, they are losing their command of the land. They cannot rule the land because we're growing everywhere. So I want to see other numbers in other states. But this clearly explains a lot of the feeling of the white population. They are losing their grip, that they are no longer in charge. And so here we have very concrete evidence. Por eso es que está aumentando la inquietud de la población blanca. Están perdiendo terreno. Si la población hispana creció por un 36%, la población asiática 39% y la población blanca bajó. Se redujo en un 4%. The white population fell in all 8 counties of Pennsylvania. The Hispanic and Asian populations grew across those counties. The same counties that lost white people had more gains in Hispanic and Asians. The Black population fell in 2 of them, Chester County and Philadelphia. The decline in Philadelphia's Black population, a loss of about 30,500 people, is the city's steepest in history. La pérdida de población negra en esta ciudad es la pérdida más grande en la historia de esta ciudad. En cuanto a negros que han salido de la ciudad, una pérdida de 30,500. The drop in the city's white population, about 11,800 people, is the smallest since the 1940s, when Philadelphia added roughly 14,000 white residents. Let's remember one thing. One reason Philadelphia didn't experience a loss in the last census of 2010 was due to the increase in the Hispanic population and Asian population. So that saved the city from losing population, which, as we know, is very important to have to increase or have the steady number for the allocation of federal money. Apologies. The city's population of Hispanic residents grew by 50,500. Asian residents by 36,900. La población hispana en Filadelfia creció en 50,700. Y la población asiática en 36,900. Son impresionantes números. En cuanto al crecimiento, es importante notar que tal vez eso también refleja el hecho de que hay tanta pobreza en Filadelfia, porque la población hispana en general pues no es la más pujante, y en los barrios en donde es predominante la población hispana, no hemos llegado exactamente a tener. Mi amigo Fernando Treviño puede explicar esto mejor, tal vez lo invitemos a otro programa. De hecho, lo vamos a invitar para que él pueda ayudarnos con estos números. Él puede explicar por qué estamos ganando en población, pero no ganando en cuanto a la economía, ganando en empleos, ganando en educación, etc. The city's population growth since 2010 was spurred by strong gains among Hispanic residents and Asians. The two groups combined now make up nearly a quarter of the city's population. So vamos a continuar con estos números. We're going to continue briefly studying the results of the 2020 census. Les habla Fernando Méndez. We are here in the round table. And Pastor Phil dirige el trabajo en el día de hoy. Regresamos en un momento.
Toma menos de un minuto saber si está usted en riesgo de padecer prediabetes. Puede averiguarlo aquí. Visite esta página.
Bueno, señores oyentes de USA la Radio, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda, The Round Table, desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Méndez. Pastor Phil dirige el programa. Bueno, Ah, estamos estudiando los resultados del censo del 2020. Ya sabemos, siempre hay datos curiosos en los censos. No hemos tenido tiempo de estudiar a fondo lo que sucedió con este censo del 2020, pero acabamos de ver los resultados en cuanto a la población hispana y la población asiática, aumentos de la población y lo que significa para nosotros tener un aumento en población. Si no fuera por eso, perderíamos más dinero. Ya estamos acostumbrados a que la distribución de dinero no sea equitativa, fondos federales, etcétera. Así que hay que tener cuidado con esto, prestar atención, qué está pasando con la población. Y hemos aumentado, por lo tanto, tenemos el derecho a tener más representación en el Congreso, a tener más influencia política y económica en las decisiones que se toman en el país. Vimos que son bastante grandes los números en cuanto al crecimiento de la población hispana. Así que hay que ver esto. En un momento en que hay tantas otras preocupaciones con esto del COVID y la economía, tratando de recuperar esta economía, ¿qué va a pasar? Si estamos aumentando en población, entonces vamos a necesitar más recursos económicos. Necesitamos más escuelas, más oportunidades, más empleos. Así que todo esto tiene un efecto como una onda que tiene efectos secundarios. Un efecto de un aumento en la población, por supuesto, tiene efectos secundarios en cuanto a educación, la economía, la vivienda, etc. Entonces, pues, los expertos, nosotros aquí solamente anunciamos, no tenemos ningún título de sabios, de expertos, solamente hacemos preguntas y reportamos lo que sabemos. En este poco, pues, hasta ahora, por haber recibido estos informes tan recientes, pues no hemos tenido una gran oportunidad de estudiarlos, a ver qué pasa. Un dato curioso, pues no tan curioso, pero importante para ver si nos recuperamos del COVID, es que hemos dado un paso adelante y dos pasos atrás con esto de número de gentes enfermos. Ha aumentado el número de gentes que adquiere la enfermedad del COVID. La versión Delta es la que está causando más estragos y más jóvenes, más niños se han visto afectados. Entonces, por eso se está pidiendo que nos vacunemos todos. Que si usted ya obtuvo una vacuna y son dos las que necesita, pues rápido, hágalo. Otro dato importante es que ya están a punto de aprobar otra vacuna, así que esto también puede ayudar a la lucha contra este virus. De lamentar, realmente, de lamentar la falta de liderazgo con sentido común en Texas, en Florida, en otras partes de este país, en donde gobernadores republicanos han perdido su brújula que debe dirigir sus acciones para beneficio del pueblo. Y entonces han decidido obedecer ciegamente una filosofía que ya vimos falló. No es posible. No es posible que el Partido Republicano siga por esa onda luego de que el líder les hizo tanto daño en los últimos 4 años. Perder la presidencia, perder la Cámara de Representantes, perder el Congreso, el Senado, perder gobernaciones, etcétera, etcétera. Pero ahí sí, es algo, es una ceguera, porque es un ídolo que sigue siendo admirado por un 70% de los republicanos. Increíble ese número, o sea, pensar. Yo creo que ya no hay los 73 millones que votaron por él. Es imposible, luego de lo que hemos visto, porque cada día hay una nueva revelación. Ahora, la revelación, la más reciente, el secretario de Estado, un alto oficial de Georgia, del estado de Georgia, el Attorney General creo que fue, el fiscal general, está testificando ante el Senado y declarando que el expresidente Trump lo presionó para que declarara que había algún fraude, que algo parecía mal con los votos. Eso era todo lo que quería él, ¿no? Estaba insistiendo con otro oficial de Georgia, que le encontrara 11.700 votos, o que declarara simplemente que había algo malo, fraude, sin tener evidencia, no importaba eso, nada más déjeme a mí, use esa frase que usted cree que hay fraude, yo puedo ampliar eso. No en esas mismas palabras, pero eso es lo que estaba haciendo Trump. And I'm sorry to bring that again. I'm trying to get rid of that topic, but we can't. Every day there are new revelations. Now we have an official from Georgia, I think the Attorney General, testifying before the Senate, and again, testifying that Donald Trump put pressure on him to change the results of the election, to overturn the election. Donald Trump put pressure on the person in charge of the vote in Georgia and Arizona and many states to change the outcome. He tried that. He tried the courts with his minion, Rudy Giuliani, and that woman lawyer whose name I cannot remember. Two ridiculous human beings who could not directly in court lie, but they lied outside of court. They were announcing that they had proof, that they could show evidence that there was fraud. And we know that once inside the courtroom, they didn't go there because they knew they could lose their license. As it is, Trump and Sidney Powell, I think is the woman, they especially Giuliani, lost his license to practice in New York, lost his license to practice in DC. They should not have a license to practice anywhere because everything they say is false. I don't know. Let's say not everything, but everything that they say in relation to the election is false. Everything they say in relation to having proof is false. Everything that Giuliani says, denying that he tried to influence the president of Ukraine, is false. Everything that he says, denying that he tried to get Ukrainians to find fault with Hunter Biden, to find some sort of crime, he denies that he did that. He was looking for some way to influence the election. We know it's not true. Why are these people still going across the land? Well, all I can remember from Giuliani is his face dripping with dark ink from the hair dye, and how absurd he looked that day. That reflected the person that he is. So much for America's mayor. And then there are things happening in DC that are surprising. Democrats and Republicans somehow found a way to work together. They passed a bill, the $1 trillion bill, and unfortunately there are some Democrats like Joe Manchin who, at this point, I don't know. At this point, I don't know why he would derail one of the most important contributions to our economy, to our history, to our social structure since the 1930s. Why Joe Manchin and Ocasio-Cortez? I haven't heard anything about other people, but those two that I don't know what they want. Why would they oppose something transformative that Joe Biden can do at this moment? They should be supporting all the actions because there are two things right here. We don't control the House. We don't control the House in large numbers. I think there's a small difference, like 3 votes. And we don't control the Senate either. It's a 50-50 split that requires the intervention of the Vice President in order for some legislation to pass. So we need all the Democrats to support Biden, because we know that there are many Republicans dedicated to stopping the advance of anything, any progress that Biden can have. So that we cannot afford to lose Democrats, and that's why Joe Manchin is important. I think that it's important to pay attention to the fact that without his help, without his contribution, we may have, we may not be able to enact all the laws that Biden wants to change, to bring on this infrastructure legislation that can really change the direction of this country. So we'll see if that is possible, because as far as we can see right now, the Republicans are unified in their opposition, and they're listening to Trump. They're afraid of Trump, and the Democrats are holding Biden's feet to the fire, asking him to do things to sort of not to stop his implementation of his ideas, of his agenda, but to yield to the left, to yield to what the Republicans call the socialists on the left, who are not happy with whatever Biden is doing right now, and they would like to have more. So we're going to take a brief break here in Úsala Radio. Les habla Fernando Méndez. Pastor Phil at the controls. Regresamos en un momento. los oyentes de Usa la Radio. Aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda, The Round Table. Les habla Fernando Méndez. Pastor Phil at the controls. I was talking about the fact that Washington is so split, that the Democrats don't have full control of the House. They don't control the Senate, and therefore they cannot afford to lose any support of Democratic senators or congressmen. So it's a crucial point for this country right now. Either we enact an agenda of progress, or we continue this divisive political agenda. Well, it's not an agenda, this divisive political drive that the Republicans have right now. It was surprising to see Mitch McConnell as being one of the senators, 19 Republican senators who supported the $1 trillion bill. But not surprising to hear that Joe Manchin expressed concern about the amount of money that it entails. So, and Ocasio-Cortez, and who knows who else. We cannot, Democrats, please, we need unity at this point. Because the Republicans are united in their opposition, we need to be more united in the drive to change the course of this country, to reverse the damage to the environment the last 4 years in the Trump administration, to reverse the damage done to young people, DACA. How is it? I don't care what number of students, I don't care about the numbers. It's just the whole issue of young people who came to this country and who have studied and have become productive. Why not support them? So there are a couple of things right now also. The idea that is floating around of helping the interpreters, the translators and interpreters in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Iraq that helped US troops. And because of the rapid withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan, which by the way we support, but because of the withdrawal, these people who served our nation, they served our troops, are being left to be victimized by the Taliban. Look at the strength and the speed of the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan. And let's remember that these are not nice people. Remember, they don't like women to be educated. They are anti-women. They are anti-culture, basically. The only thing they believe is, if they believe in anything, Islam. And they are cruel and vindictive. And let's remember how they destroyed small towns all along the way when they were forced to vacate certain parts of Afghanistan because the US was fighting them. But now they are back and they are doing the same thing they did before. And it's very sad, as I said already, for the interpreters and people that are left behind, but very sad for all the women in Afghanistan who were given a false hope that they had a future. All the women who obtained an education, who started a business, who have careers, and all of a sudden they all these women are now going to be victimized. Well, an announcement here, service from Usa la Radio. Our friend Marilyn Rodriguez tell us, did you know that New Jersey beaches are closed due to fecal bacteria? Oh boy. It's very sad because one of the worst things that have happened in this country is this virus that forced us all to be indoors and isolated, and not at our offices and not in school, unable to gather in groups, even to attend funerals and birthdays and weddings. And now we were slowly coming back to life in terms of that. And all of a sudden, we have a resurgence of COVID. And now, the people of New Jersey, where they could enjoy the beaches in New Jersey, now the beaches are closed because of the possible infection due to fecal matter. That's part of what we should be concerned with the environment. I mean, now is New Jersey. Look, it's some things are not new in terms of that. I remember a long time ago, decades, maybe 20, 25 years ago, pictures of the Mediterranean, the south of France, closed for the same reason, because there was possibility of infection from fecal matter. So here is a cycle. I mean, we have succeeded in some ways in cleaning up the environment, but we have failed in some other ways. Witness the tremendous amount, the tons, thousands and thousands of tons of trash, of garbage floating in the oceans. So we're going to have another program focusing on the environment with our friend Jessica Ordóñez from from this climate organization. So she's going to address that new report from the UN, telling us that we have 30 years approximately to do something to reverse the damage. And if we don't do something, that we are going to lose the battle to save our Earth. And that would be extremely sad if we cannot save our planet from ourselves. When we have the ability to do something, to reverse the damage we have done, to improve the state of our planet for the sake of our children and our grandchildren and the other generations to follow. So this is a clear sign of, I'm sorry, New Jersey. Here's one more sign that we're doing tremendous damage to the environment, and that we can see the results of that. That reminds us again of how we lost 4 years of that battle during the government of Donald Trump. That's not the only thing we lost. And this man, every day, there's more and more evidence that he wanted to overthrow the government, that he led that insurrection on January 6th of 2021. So on that happy thought, today, Friday the 13th, I wish you luck and have a wonderful weekend. So we will see you on Úsala Radio, the Round Table. Les habló Fernando Méndez, Pastor Phil at the controls. Los esperamos hasta la próxima. Greetings from the city of brotherly love. I am Fernando Méndez, host of the Round Table. We invite you to listen to our discussion of the themes of the day when we bring you regional, national, and international news.